Welcome to the Breakdown with INFB. I'm your host, Heidi Gant. Although planting season in Indiana is wrapping up, road safety is something motorists and farmers need to keep in mind throughout the year. Accidents involving tractors and other agricultural machinery occur on rural roads every year. In fact, according to the Federal Highway Administration, 32% of total vehicle miles traveled in 2022 were in rural areas. However, rural areas accounted for 41% of all traffic fatalities. So today we're talking with John Nagle, Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance Farm Training Specialist, about road and farm safety this summer. So welcome, John.
Well, thank you, Heidi. I appreciate being here.
Yeah. Okay. So John, let's start by talking a little bit about what you do as farm training specialist for Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance. What all does that entail?
Well, it entails a great deal. So Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance is the largest writer of farm insurance in the state. And my position is to help make sure our agents know and understand about farming and agriculture. So I do a lot of training with them just about, what happens on the farm, what they need to insure. I work with them on building and equipment valuations to make sure we have proper coverage for our farmers. And then a big area I work with is farm safety and emergency planning. And that's with our farm clients and members to help them be more prepared and be safer on the farm.
Okay, well, that's interesting. I think a lot of people who aren't really involved much with Farm Bureau don't understand the difference between Indiana Farm Bureau and Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance. So it's great that we have someone like you on the insurance side who can really speak to what our voting members really deal with on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the unofficial roles I have, is kind of liaison between the two companies. Having been a Farm Bureau voting member since '96, been highly active in Incorporated, holding many positions. I understand the inner workings, I understand the personnel, and I try and help bridge that gap between both companies. So, we're all on the same page and we're all trying to do the best for Indiana farmers.
Yeah, well, that's great to hear. So for this time of year, when we talk about safety, we're mainly talking about road safety. So what are some of the best tips for motorists to keep in mind when coming upon farm machinery? So not farmers, so people who aren't really, they come upon a big tractor on the road. What are some good things to keep in mind?
Well, the thing I always say is if you're driving, whether you're in the tractor or you're a motorist on the road, make sure you see and you're being seen. So by seeing, looking ahead, being patient, a lot of motorists don't realize how quick, they come up on farm machinery since it's a much slower speed. Be aware of, things that may suddenly appear out of the middle of a field. And then if you do get behind a piece of machinery, just be patient. Those farmers are going to get over as soon as it's possibly safe for both them and you to pass them. And then the other thing is make sure you're being seen. I mean, it's easy to see that farm machinery coming down the road, but a lot of times those farmers looking back, if they have implements or wagons behind them, they can't actually see those cars. And if motorist gets too close, the farmer may not even know somebody's there. So make sure that you make eye contact with that farmer if you can, and just be patient and take your time.
Okay, that's some great tips. So one of the less obvious aspects of road safety might be safety at intersections specifically. Yes. So we've been talking a lot about this lately here at Farm Bureau. Is there something farmers can or already do to make those intersections safer so people can cross through intersections safely in rural areas?
Yeah, and if you go along in the summer, it's getting that time of year where the corn's starting to get tall, and intersections might be blocked. You can see where a lot of farmers have cut those down to make it easier to see, which we really appreciate. But as you're driving as a farmer, think about it. Look for other obstacles. Banners, signs, trim trees. That all helps. Also, think about the motorist. So a lot of times our farmers are driving pickup trucks, tractors, semis that sit up much higher, have a much higher visibility and a much longer line of sight. Mm-hmm. Well, you think about the people that we share our rural roads with, having cars that sit lower to grounds, maybe motorcycles, maybe even bicycles.
Yeah.
And you need to maybe stop, get out, and actually look from the ground level. What can you see and what you cannot see, and maybe make some adjustments from there.
Well, and I think also farming has become so technology reliant that you can just set your tractor to not plant within, a certain
Yes.
amount, and, to not make it so close to the road. A lot of people don't realize that. I mean, non-farmers don't realize that people can do that. I know a lot of farmers do that
Yes.
already. But,
Yes.
well, that's good to know. So what if an accident does happen, because it does on the roads this summer, what do farmers and motorists need to know? What do they need to do?
Okay, the first thing is to be calm. An accident's a very stressful situation. So, be calm. Make sure first that everyone is safe. If there are any injuries, call your first responders, call 911. I would highly recommend, no matter what, calling law enforcement. And that's just to protect both people. That's a third party to come in, look at that accident. If there's any investigations that need to be done, that's what law enforcement does. Otherwise, it may become a situation of he said, she said.
Yep.
Exactly. If you have medical personnel there, and I would get checked out medically if you're involved with it, because one thing adrenaline does during an accident is suppress pain. And you may not feel anything at the time, but, an hour or two later, when all that adrenaline wears off, you might find some injuries that you didn't know you had at the time. So if medical personnel are there, get checked out. It's always better to be safe than sorry. One thing you want to do, if you can, is, secure the scene. Make sure, everything is there, traffic, you're not further impeding traffic in that. And then document the scene as much as possible. Take photos, get the other person's contact information in that. And then lastly, with any accident, make sure you contact your insurance company.
Okay. Farm Bureau insurance, of course. Yeah.
That's what we would like them to do. Yes.
And I thought this was interesting, John. So according to Purdue University, approximately 1 in 9 Indiana farms has a farm work-related injury incident that requires medical attention each year. This isn't just road accidents. No. There's a lot of other things that can happen on the farm. What are some other good reminders for farmers to know during this busy planting season of the year for them?
I mean, slow down and take your time. We're hopefully wrapping up planting season. We could be able, and sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes we get in a hurry. That rain's coming. We got to get this done. But still take your time. Usually when we hurry, that's when accidents occur. Also, have situational awareness. Make sure you understand what's all going around you. Stay off of cell phones. Don't try to multitask. We think we're all good at it, we're really not. And then stay focused on your job, of what's going on. And a lot of times, that's, physically, but also mentally, I know at the end of seasons, a lot of times it gets stressful and, I've worked on the family farms, and somebody says something the wrong way, you get mad. Well, then you're thinking about that instead of doing your job, what you're doing. And, we need to stay focused on what you're doing. One thing also that helps is, no matter what, make sure you have a plan. Accidents happen no matter what, and that's one of the nice things I can do at Farm Bureau Insurance is I work with our clients to come out and help make an emergency plan to help respond to those types of accidents.
What do those look like?
And it's typically we'll sit down and we'll have a contact list for the farm, who's the first, second, third person in charge. We'll get all the local contacts or resources like your sheriff, emergency management, health, highway department, and then all your suppliers and inputs, electric company, electrician, and LP, natural gas, all of those. And then there it's in one spot. Every farmer I work with has it on their cell phone, but, if something happens to that cell phone or cell service, hey, nobody can get that. So that way we have it in one spot that everybody can use it. Also, part of it is we have a map of the farm identifying important and critical areas. again, so everyone's on the same page. So we know where to shut off the power. We know where we can shut off LP or natural gas. And then we also give a copy of that to the local fire department, so they know what they're walking into on those farms.
Oh, very interesting. Well, that's good to know. Hopefully, if you don't have that in place, then hopefully you get that in place this summer for your farm. So, John, wrapping up, is there somewhere people can go for more information or to learn more about what you do or more safety tips?
Well, you can always go to our IndianaFarmBureau.com, which is the insurance website. You can go to the farm, and there's a farm safety section. One of those things that we offer is a free farm safety inspection. So if you would like me to come out and just be another set of eyes, look for some hazards on there, make you a list of recommendations of what I find, we can do that. Purdue University has a whole section through their School of College of Ag and Biological Engineering regarding farm safety. Some great resources there. And then through Purdue Extension, their pesticide preparedness program has some great materials, booklets that can be used for farm safety.
Okay. Well, I will make sure to link some of that in the show notes for this episode so that people can access that. Anything else I didn't ask you today that you want farmers to keep in mind as they go throughout the season?
I got to say, just take your time, be safe. We might not get something done right away, but, there's only one you, and we got to protect. That's the most important asset to the farm.
Yep. Love that. All right. Well, thank you, John. I appreciate it, and we'll talk soon.
Okay. Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you. If you enjoyed our conversation today, make sure to subscribe to The Breakdown with INFB and even rate and review us to let us know how we're doing. For more information, visit www.infb.org/podcast.